Thanks, everyone. I'm Meredith. I work for MobileFuse. I spend a lot of my day helping brand marketers show up in the platforms where fans and consumers are spending their time. So like the Score and weather apps, and showing up really thoughtfully with custom creative. We have an awesome panel for you this morning, two really different but iconic brands. And before I give them the opportunity to introduce themselves, just wanted to give a nod to the theme that was discussed a little bit this morning and underdogs, and that was the inspiration for our walk-up song of Good Vibrations from the Mighty Ducks. If you guys want to just kick off, introduce yourselves, share a little bit about your background and experience.
Yeah, so I'm Yelena. I lead brand and insights at Wayfair, and that includes brand strategy, consumer insights, and then most recently strategic partnerships. So on the partnership side, we just announced our partnership with the Chicago Bulls last month, which is a regional play for us. We just opened our first Wayfair store in Chicago. I don't know, has anyone been? Awesome. And prior to joining Wayfair, I was on the team side in sports for over a decade. So starting with the New England Patriots, and then the Boston Bruins, working on sponsorships and our brand campaigns, and that really shaped a lot of how I think about emotionally connecting with consumers, which is something we're really bringing to Wayfair right now.
I'm Casey. I lead a product and lifecycle marketing team at Chime, and we're focused on driving growth, and so for us that means growing our active member base and ultimately driving as many primary accounts and primary account relationships with Chime as possible. Prior to Chime, I worked at Amazon, specifically on the music team for about 6 years, leading an acquisition and engagement team there. I have not worked for a sports franchise. I just root for all of the ones that oppose Yelena's experience. So like I'm a Blackhawks fan, Colts fan, so I don't like the Patriots very much, but I respect the experience. So excited to be here.
I'm also a Patriots fan, but we're terrible now, so that's okay. Okay, let's jump right into it. Wayfair has a wealth of data. So how are you really ensuring that you're serving those families the right message based on where they currently are in their life stage?
Yeah, definitely. I think one easy trap to fall into for mass brands is trying to be everything for everyone all at the same time. So quick show of hands, has anyone purchased furniture in the last year? Okay, right, so almost pretty much everyone. And I think if we try to market to everyone at the same time, of course everyone in here knows you end up really saying pretty much nothing. And so one of the things we did 2 years ago was conduct our first customer segmentation at Wayfair. And what we learned is there's 6 distinct life stages that really determine how you interact with the home market. So different psychographics, different shopping triggers. And it was super helpful for us because it really gave our total addressable market this nuance that we needed. So another show of hands, does anyone have kids under the age of 5 in your house? Okay, I hope you are all sleeping well.
Good luck.
So yeah, exactly. And so statistically speaking, if you raise your hand, you have a small kid at home, and you fall into our what we call the starter family demo, you are more likely to purchase furniture, you have higher customer lifetime value, and it's a really prime time for us to connect with that consumer because they're more likely to purchase their first home, they're decorating full rooms at the same time, and it was really helpful for us to just deeply understand this core so we could optimize for this one starter family. So for me, I know that experience of shopping is like after the kids go to bed, under the covers, mobile phone, and we're really able to optimize for our core while still not alienating all of the other segments and understanding that for different life stages, whether you're an empty nester or going through different experiences, we're able to provide the messages that are right for you at that time.
Amazing, thank you. We heard a little bit this morning about Chime's mission, really important mission to help unlock financial progress for everyday people. Casey, can you talk a little bit about the regulations that the financial industry faces and those sensitivities, and also the sensitivities about what you know about your consumer and really how you're messaging them thoughtfully and what you're doing with that?
Yeah, sure. Great question. I think we're a tech company, that facilitates banking actions and tries to help support the financial progress of everyday people. And so we naturally have a lot of data with respect to, you know, what our members and prospective members are doing, why they're coming into our service, where they're transacting, et cetera. I think like you mentioned it, the first consideration we have to make though is we still operate in a very heavily regulated space, right? So we have a great brand, we feel like a tech company, but we are a financial company. And so we're beholden to all the regulations within that industry. So it's a delicate balance. So like first and foremost, you know, respecting the rules is one of the core values that we have here at Chime. We take those very seriously. These are our members' financial lives. So first and foremost, we operate within the confines of the financial industry, and there are stipulations around what data you can use to target folks, how they, you know, interact with your products, how your products are, you know, categorized, et cetera. So we operate within those constraints, and then there's sort of a second constraint around, you know, the way that you use data. There's a lot of options, right? And what we know about our members isn't always information that they want spit back in their face. So like example, do we want to send you a spending insights summary that tells you spent $10,000 at Taco Bell last year? Maybe not, right? That's just a personal anecdote that I'm using. No, so like we need to be thoughtful as well that just because you have data doesn't mean you should be utilizing it for self-serving purposes. So sort of the principle that we employ is we use data to really empower people and continue to facilitate that feeling of financial momentum, financial progress. So there's a couple ways we do that. Like probably the most obvious for us is we try to really understand the intent of our members. So we have a diverse product portfolio, right? You can come to Chime and you can build credit. You can come to Chime and you can get paid earlier, access up to $500 of your paycheck before payday. You can come to Chime and, you know, save money, use Experian Boost. There's a lot of different things you can do. Get fee-free overdraft protection, right? Those are all very different things. So we try to first and foremost understand why are you coming into our ecosystem, and then we shape how we onboard you based on that understanding. So example, if you're coming in to build credit, we're going to put you into an experience that's very focused on the steps necessary to do that. So using our credit builder card, enrolling in Experian Boost, bill pay, etc. That's going to be very different than if we believe you're here for sort of core banking capabilities or to access MyPay, which requires that you set up a direct deposit with us. So there's just different sort of journeys that you can go down based on your intent. And so we try to first and foremost use data to understand why you're here and honor that intent with an experience that feels like it's for you. The other thing that we do that's very cool, that sort of another team within Chime is leading, is we have sort of this marker within a lot of our communications. It's called Feels Like Progress. And so this is where we do leverage some of the data that we have to kind of show you the value that you've obtained that's real through banking with Chime. So things like how many dollars have you saved on overdraft fees that you would have incurred had you been banking with Chase or something? How much have you saved? How much has your credit score improved? So again, just using the data we have to say you're doing a great job and keep going, and making sure that the way that we use data is to facilitate that feeling of empowerment for our members.
Super interesting. I could throw a rock and hit a Taco Bell from my apartment, so I also don't want to see that
I love
line item. Knowing this and knowing what you've done with what you have with this data, how has your target audience really changed and evolved over time? And that's a question for both of you, so either can kick it off.
Yeah, I think for us, it started with that customer segmentation. So when I had first joined Wayfair, I think our target was 35 to 65 SKUs female. And so I think the problem with that is if you give it to 10 different teams and ask them to build an experience and come back, you're going to end up with 10 different experiences. Everyone has sort of a different image of who the customer is in their head. And so when we zeroed in on the young families or the starter families, it was so helpful for us to understand the nuance and the key insight. And the key insight around that target demo is that they're strapped for time and money. And so being able to build that really specific experience for them has helped us tremendously. This summer, we went across the country, interviewed tons of different starter families in their homes, and one of the really cool things was we brought a documentarian with us, and so we were able to capture that content And we brought it back, and we've been using it internally to really rally the company around a single view of who the customer is. Of course, there's nuance within that, of course, but it has really helped us rally around and understand who our target is that we're optimizing for.
Yeah, for us, our macro target audience, it sounds corny, but it literally is just everyday Americans, right? So our products are designed for folks sort of making less than 100K a year and tend to live paycheck to paycheck. That's 70% of the population here. So frankly, I don't see that changing for a long time. Where we've gotten smarter and where we've seen evolution is really in our understanding of the segments within that audience. And so, we've sort of identified several different market segments, some of which represent our core, sort of our bread and butter folks, where our existing product portfolio is a great fit, right? These were people who sort of came in, they wanted to get paid a little early, they wanted some flexibility with fee-free overdraft protection, and they wanted to build or repair credit. That's a lot of people. But what we've found is we've gotten smarter and smarter about these subsegments. Is we've got our core and we've got our expansion segments just like anyone else. And they tend to, on the surface, they look like they care about the same stuff, right? So if you kind of look across all our segments, they all care about credit. And so if you just kind of stop there and build both your product strategy but also your marketing strategy on that notion, you can totally miss, because when you double click into that, caring about credit can mean a lot of different things. And right, so for our core segments, what they tend to care about is either establishing credit for the first time or building credit and repairing it, right? Our expansion segments care about credit, but what they care about is cash rewards and access to member perks. Two totally different sets of benefits, two totally different sets of things to talk to them about. So that's really where we've seen evolution, is more in our own internal understanding of sort of the nuanced differences. And then what we've also found is we sort of help members graduate into a set of new financial needs and desires that we're still kind of building in parallel with them. So again, not to sound corny, but we're kind of growing with our members as we help them grow. Because if you kind of come in and use our baseline set of products, you're going to improve your credit score, you're going to stay on top of your finances a bit more, you're going to overdraft less, you're going to start to maybe think about the future versus today. And as you do that, we need to then have sort of the next level of products and offerings that allows you to continue to reap the rewards of your financial progress. And so, without giving away a lot around our plans, I think, for those of you who monitor us or look at what we're doing out in the market, you'll see that evolution continue, where the way our products evolve and the way that we talk to our members evolves as they grow.
I think that's really interesting, and also for both of your brands to be growing with your consumer in very different ways, with Wayfair and growing with the family as they have their second kid and third kid. Knowing that, everyone's favorite topic, if and how are you using AI to help with that process?
So one of the pieces of technology I'm super excited about at Wayfair, it's called Muse. And the Wayfair innovation team put it together based on the key insight that people don't really know how to describe their style. So home is a reflection of self, but it's very hard to actually find what you're looking for. In our website, it's built really, really well for those that know the exact product or you have a few keywords, but it's much harder earlier in the customer journey. So if you think about Pinterest and going on Pinterest and sort of exploring and trying to see what's out there, we are starting to build sort of similar to what would be a style board. And so if you think about if Casey wanted to build a Blackhawks fan cave, you could put in a couple of colors, you could put in Blackhawks, you could say fan cave, and it will start generating AI imagery based on what you put in, and it's all made up of Wayfair products. So to the point earlier about shoppability, you're able to kind of go into the image, you can change things around, and so we're super excited about it. It should be integrated into the app in the upcoming months, and then hopefully into the whole site by the end of the year. So definitely keep a lookout for that.
I now know what I'm doing after work. Interested. We're thinking about AI, across Chime, the full business, not just within marketing, but sort of a couple specific ways. So within my world, our team owns the onboarding experience, and so right now we're experimenting with a third-party AI-based tool that allows us to sort of dynamically sequence the timing, the selection of different communications, the channels, etc., of our onboarding journey for different members, optimizing toward sort of the ultimate downstream business metric that we care about. So in our case, when we onboard you, for a lot of our products, you have to set up direct deposit in order to actually access them and get any sort of value. So our onboarding journey is very focused on driving direct deposit conversion very tactically. And so we're using AI to basically train a model around optimizing for direct deposit conversion with a bunch of different variants introduced into the experience. So it sort of allows us to more rapidly test different types of communications and really focus on like tuning the dials of the setup and the model itself, but allowing AI to sort of dictate, pull all this great creative of all of these different columns, which is the most likely, and what is the right time where it's going to drive maximum impact to the metric that we care about. And so we're sort of on V2 of experimenting with that after seeing some success with that within our sort of core banking type of onboarding experience. I mentioned we have a credit-focused onboarding experience. We have just launched an expansion test around that as well. And that has sort of a different outcome that we're trying to drive, where we just want to get you activating and using your card and starting to build credit as quickly as possible. So we're kind of pointing the model toward that outcome. So that's really cool. We think there's a lot of potential scalability there, especially as our product portfolio grows. Every time we launch a new product, it's a new potential onboarding experience for a member, and that's really hard to scale if you don't have some automation in play. So that's one, and then sort of dovetailing with that around onboarding, the second thing we're looking at is, we launched an AI-based chatbot recently, mostly for customer support. So if you have an issue, if you need to file a dispute, if you're wondering where your direct deposit is, whatever it may be, this is sort of bi-directionally helpful. It reduces friction for our own internal teams, certainly, but it also just helps address, there's like 5 top reasons that people often call in, and they're fairly straightforward to address in a lot of cases, so it sort of helps just streamline our management of that. But it's very much focused on resolving issues, right? Not sort of proactively helping. And so, Neha on my team is leading an effort here to actually make that more robust and allow it to serve as almost like a sort of a concierge for new members, right? So it's just part of the onboarding experience. So if you'd rather just have a sort of two-way type conversation as you're getting started, hey, cool, how do I activate my card? What's the best way for me to fund? How long do I have to wait to, see value from this product? Whatever it may be, just like education on the fly, almost like you've got your own personal assistant. So that's another sort of flavor of onboarding that we see a lot of promise within.
Casey, what's the name of the virtual learning
OfferFit. I was not paid to say that, so.
It was a good endorsement, though. Really exciting year for both of your brands. Lots of exciting things coming in 2025. I think that's a good segue into a theme that should resonate with a lot of marketers in the room. When you're launching a new product, you're launching a new marketing strategy, how do you have conviction that you're going to figure it out? And really, what does that process look like? Yelena, you kick us off.
Sure. I think conviction really comes from understanding the intersection point between your brand's DNA and then what the customer wants, which is a much more methodical process than I think people originally think, So if you understand that territory and that intersection point that you're starting from, it removes a lot of the guesswork right up front. And so when we developed our recent brand campaign called Welcome to the Neighborhood, we did a lot of conceptual territory testing with consumers to make sure that the core insight was really resonating. And then from there, we pressure tested with a lot of creative testing along the way. So before we even got into production, we were starting to put creative in front of the customer and really understand their reaction. So one example of that was we had a scene in the shoot that was all about Western style, and there was this bison in the scene. And we didn't really think much of it, but it was in there in the background. And all of the consumers in the open-ended had talked about the bison. And so coming out of testing, we realized that we were creating the stickiness, but not really stickiness in the right area. It was more distracting. So very simple move, but we were able to just take that out of production. And so that kind of testing allows us along the way to just have a lot of conviction that by the time the ad is coming out, we feel really good about it.
Yeah, for us, I work on a very cross-functional team, so very, very plugged into the product roadmap and sort of what's coming. And so I think there's sort of like two pieces of conviction. One is on the offering itself, so what are you launching? And I think the conviction there has to come from, conviction that there's a member need or a customer need, and the thing that you are building serves a direct problem or pain point for customers. And I think the only way you achieve that is through immersion in what your members or customers want. That's got to come through qual, that's got to come through quant. Being plugged into member testimonials and just literally talking to people, right? And so, I think you'll see, we've got pictures of our members around. We bring members in to talk to us. We try to stay really plugged into the realities of the things that we're shipping and how they're impacting people and sort of what folks want to see next from us. And that led to our most recent big launch was MyPay last year. That's a product that literally just breaks the conventional pay cycle. You can access up to $500 of your paycheck well before your paycheck hits, so once you've earned it. And so that's really transformational for people in our core and expansion segments who need sort of more frequent liquidity. And so we had really high conviction that this was a thing people wanted. The conviction in, I think, what you said, making it work or figuring it out, I think that has to come in how your team is organized and mobilized around that launch and making sure that it actually is a full funnel approach. So for example, we launched this massive integrated marketing campaign. It drummed up incredible top of funnel demand. And then we had, our paid media team focused on capturing all that demand, pulling it into our funnel with rapid creative testing. And I'm making this sound very smooth, it was an iterative process. So we saw Nick's laughing because, but the media thing we saw was a bunch of demand. Unsurprisingly, this is something a lot of people want and are interested in. So we saw enrollment rates skyrocket. We saw, brand awareness hit all-time highs, etc. But it didn't immediately drive this overnight success while everything in the funnel was perfect. And so it took consistent testing where we said, cool, let's figure out how to take all this great demand and start delivering in-product experiences that capture those folks, educate them quickly, and get them on a path to using the product. We had to test different landing pages, different ad creative, different lifecycle communications, but we did it all in sort of this Tiger Team style after we GA'd the product to make sure that we're just continuing to iterate. And that's really where the conviction has to come from in my mind, is you're mobilized and you're taking a full funnel view of how all this stuff works together to drive one outcome, right? And that's got to be brand, performance, lifecycle, product marketing all come together.
Anything on the Wayfair front on that bit? I want to make sure we get to share the clip too. Yelena, can you talk to us about Wayfair's thinking around storytelling and sports strategy?
Yeah, definitely. So storytelling is everything for us. We believe that home is an expression of self, and we try to authentically tell that story through cultural moments, through the talent we're using. I think a great example of this was our sort of first entry into sports last year. We caught wind that Lil Jon was going to make an appearance at the Super Bowl, and so our hacky way of getting into the Super Bowl without paying for the advertising was we put together a piece with him called I Love My Bar Cart. And that's an ongoing franchise for us called I Love My. And so we worked with him, and he was able to tell the story of his bar cart and how he loves in-home entertaining, which authentically is so connected to the sports world. And so we dropped the piece. It was really a few minutes, I think, after he made the appearance, and Lil Jon mentions were spiking online. And then the days following, we were able to roll out some more social media, and it was incredible to see the engagement we got from that. And so it's a really just authentic way for us to tell his story through talent, but also combine that with sports and the moment that was happening. So I think we have the clip.
I think we do have a clip. Yeah.
Play it.
Do I have a favorite toast? You might have to bleep this. Cheers! And we drink. What's up, it's your boy Lil Jon, and I gotta let you know, I love my bar cart. My life is partying, so when I wanna have people over and party, everything is already built in here. And it's got wheels on it. I wanna take it out by the pool and have a little bar set up by the pool. Bam, here it is. The wood on it matches perfectly with the aesthetic of my basement. My taste in alcoholic beverages has changed dramatically over the years. I would drink whatever somebody had that night, whiskey, tequila, anything they had, I would drink it. First drink I ever made was beer. I had a beer. And then after that, rum and coke, Long Island iced teas were what I drank a lot. But then I started to acquire a taste for tequila. And we started with Jose Cuervo, and we graduated all the way up to Don Julio 1942. It's cocktail time! Today we're making my favorite peach paloma. Woo, yeah. 2 ounces of mezcal. Maybe a little bit more than 2 ounces, but it doesn't matter. 1 ounce of peach liqueur. Splash! The juice of half of the lime. And 2 ounces of peach nectar. Then you just shake her up. Yeah! Perfect! Add rosemary garnish. I like to stir it up with it. And a slice of peach. There you have it. My favorite peach paloma. Cheers! My design style really is like energy. I have to literally legit walk through the space and the space talks to me. Hello. A lot of design ideas kind of come from my world travels. I'm in Bali or if I'm in China or if I'm in Europe. You know, I take mental notes. Like these barrels behind me. I've been in factories where they make tequila, but that's kind of a nod to like how you see all of the barrels stored in the warehouse. If you can imagine it, you can make it happen. Wayfair!
Please note his purple pants.
I love the purple pants, purple leather, bringing the branding through there. I think we may get kicked off momentarily. So last question really quickly. You both have really different backgrounds. Just anything you could take from your experience at Amazon Music and Yelena, your experience on the sports side and share with the people in the room today.
Sure, yeah. I hate that I have to follow Little John. I would just say, like, be customer-centric is the biggest #1 takeaway I have from Amazon experience. If you make decisions based on your customers truly, you're going to have a lot of success. And then the other would be use data to scale how you personalize. The only way that you're going to deliver a relevant experience at an individual level is if you find ways to weaponize data in a positive way, but in a way that allows you to tailor things to one person versus the other at scale.
A huge +1 to all of that. I think always starting with a customer is so important. I guess mine will be a little bit more of a watch out. It's really easy to design by committee anywhere you are. A lot of times those trying to design are not in the target audience, and so that's a really helpful reminder to pressure test anything you're doing, right? Like if you're not in the demo, that's okay. You might not like it, that's a good thing. And so similarly, just starting with that customer, it's always going back to who they are.
Thank you both.